Thank you, everyone. Welcome to our presentation. We're going to be talking to you today about the science and practice of an expedition. My name is Freda Kemp. I'm sure most of you know me. I'm a longtime student of the Ageless Wisdom and a student of the University of the Seven Rays. I was formerly an instructor with Moria Federation, and I have a small school here in Toronto that I call the Open Heart School. I act as a spiritual mentor for many people who are seekers on the path. And you're going to meet Daniel, Daniel Lumanauw. Daniel is a longtime learner from the Ageless Wisdom. He has a number of interests from biology, engineering, statistics, and psychology, and currently Ageless Wisdom and Tibetan Buddhism. And he strongly feels a connection with Lama Govinda and his teachings, which often use symbological and relational ways to explore consciousness. He's a student of the Arcane School, the Open Heart School here in Toronto, and also the Paramita Center. He currently holds the role of the secretary in the Toronto Theosophical Society. So please welcome Daniel. Daniel?
Okay, thank you, Freda, for the intro. We're going to start the presentation. Freda?
Can you see it?
Yep, I can see it. Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay. So, okay. An expedition or a pilgrimage is not merely a travel or a devotional wandering. It is a disciplined, scientific engagement with the field of energy that condition both human and planetary life. As the Tibetan remind us, consciousness develops through the right use of form and through the right relationship. And this is the foundation of this work. Expedition or pilgrimage becomes a method of alignment between consciousness, form, and purpose. These three must come into coherence for any true manifestation to occur. We can understand the creation itself as a process in which consciousness gradually takes the form. What begins as intention becomes pattern and eventually becomes structure and lived experience. So when we enter a pilgrimage consciously, we are not moving through geography. We are entering a living process where consciousness is continuously expressing itself through a form. And this reframed the pilgrimage or expedition entirely. It is not an observation, but it is a participation in planetary life. Next slide, please. Okay, next one. We covered this. Yeah. To understand what we are participating in, we need to understand the structure. The table shown here reveals 7 levels of manifestation that correspond across the human body, the structure of civilization, and the life of the planet. The Tibetan explained that energy follows thought, and the etheric body underlies all forms. This means that what we see outwardly is not primary. It is the result of a deeper organizing forces. Level 1 to 3 in the table represent the subtle blueprint layers, where intention and pattern are impressed. Level 4 and 5 show circulation and organization. Level 6 and 7 are the visible expression. So what appears externally is the final stage of a much deeper process. Thus in an expedition or pilgrimage, in a pilgrimage, we are not meeting a place as something fixed or merely physical, as what we see at level 6 and 7. We are entering a living, layered field encompassing all 7 levels, formed by intention, pattern, and accumulated energy over time. Thus, a pilgrimage trained our perception to recognize the depth of the seven level as much rather than only on the surface level. Next slide, please. The Tibetan makes a profound statement. The planet is a living organism with centers corresponding to those in human body. Civilization were formed where this energy externalized. At the root level, it anchors stability through physical landscape like mountains or stone temples. At the level, expresses creativity through arts and culture, while some organize power and empire. And at higher centers, they coordinate vision and synthesis, revealed today as the magnetism of sacred sites that naturally drawn people, such as the pyramids in Egypt, Mount Kailash, the Gobi Desert, and Borobudur Temple in Indonesia. And all of these are not symbolic. They reflect real energetic patterns within planetary life. So when we travel to these places, we are not simply visiting location. We are entering active centers within the living system. Thus again, a pilgrimage becomes a way of aligning human consciousness with this planetary function, allowing us to participate more consciously in the life of the whole. Next slide, please. Now, how do these centers take form over time? Through what we call the pantheon, not as mythological figures, but as a formative human beings. The Tibetan teaches that ideas are causes of form. Individuals act as agents who anchor these ideas into reality. Founders, reformers, visionaries, spiritual teachers, and guides translate the quality of the consciousness into structure, into institution, system, and enduring cultural patterns. And over time, this creates a chain that makes quality of consciousness become embodied through individual, which then form collective patterns, which solidify into structure, which then sustain an ongoing field. So when we enter a sacred place, we are stepping into that accumulated field. And it is important to approach this correctly, not through emotional projection or personality focus, but through recognition of the quality of the consciousness that has been anchored by those pantheons. Next slide, please. From this, the purpose of the pilgrimage becoming very clear. The Tibetan emphasizes right human relationship as the fundamental principle. Pilgrimages extend this principle to our relationship, not only between the humanity, but also with the place and planetary life. It restores right relationship with a place. It aligns us with a deeper order behind the form. It shifts us from belief to perception, what Tibetan calls direct knowledge through experience. It also reconnects us to the circulation of life, where we begin to sense movement, rhythm, and flow rather than isolated events. It also cultivates stewardship. We move from control to cooperation, from our regular pattern of imposing our will into situation to the new pattern of aligning our purpose that already present within the place and planetary life. So ultimately, our pilgrimage or expeditions support the development of group consciousness because these centers are not individual, they are collective fields. Next slide, please. So now we come to the method. The Tibetan teaches that alignment precedes contact. This is why preparation is essential. In the preparation phase 1, we align with the underlying pattern of the place. We stabilize our system by reducing noise and reactivity, and we clarify the intention, not as something we want to take, but something we want to contribute. In the conduct phase 2, we enter the field with sensitivity. This is where we apply the science of impression, the ability to register subtle energy accurately. So we listen, we observe the movement and the flow, we remain present without imposing interpretation. And this is critical. For a sacred site pilgrimage, we do not attempt to fix or change the place. Then we move on to the integration phase 3. Here we anchor the expedition experience into everyday life. We complete the journey, the insight and the impression we have collected are consciously brought down into practical living. Without embodiment, the experience remains incomplete. So the process here is becoming simple and repeatable. First, we align, then we enter, then we listen, then we withdraw, and lastly, we embody. This is the science of pilgrimage expedition in practice. Next slide, please. So now this is the final slide of the first part of our presentation. It demonstrates what happened when this approach was actively applied for one of our pilgrimage during Virgo full moon in 2024. Mount Kailash pilgrimage was undertaken using this method through alignment and discipline relationship. We circumambulated Mount Kailash, represented by the white triangle at the center of the image on the right. We're circling, moving clockwise. The journey began in Darshan, marked as DEC, and continued through the Western Gate, CK, then Drirapuk, Toma Pass, Sutrapuk, that ZP, and finally returned to Darshan. Using this method, distinct realization and impression emerge at each directional point. At the South Trail, I'm here to conquer. I'm here not to conquer, but to be conquered. This reflects the preparation phase, marked by the release of personal agenda. At the West Trail, experience is all here and now with selfless love. This expresses the conduct phase, complete presence without resistance. At the North Trail, let go the pain and suffering. They are raw material for futures. Here we encounter transformation, where difficulties become material for growth. And then at the Pass, conscious release. I left behind what no longer served. This is the moment that reflects conscious relinquishment. At the East, representing the synthesis, peace is in one. Peace is in the oneness. After all challenges and encounter, it becomes clear that our goal is not the perfection of personality, but its usefulness as a transmitter of the group humanity soul. This marks the synthesis, the alignment with the greater one. Then we finish the circling by returning to the south, going back to Darshan, representing the completion. This journey is not for self-improvement. It is for gathering experience, extracting its essence, and offering back to the group humanity soul. So in closing, for part one. This shows that pilgrimage, when approached scientifically, produce intended inner result. It is a method of transformation, not through belief, but through a direct relationship. It is a way of learning how consciousness expresses through form and how we can participate in that process more intelligently. And ultimately, pilgrimage is not about where we go. It's about how we relate. And through that relationship, we become more conscious participant in the life of the whole. And with this closing thought, I'm handing back the presentation to part two, back to Freda.
Thank you, Daniel. That was lovely. So Daniel has given us an outline of the theory and the practice of doing an expedition. Daniel has been on a number of these expeditions, including to Borobudur, to Darjeeling, Mount Kailash, as you just saw, Mongolia, and most recently to Gunung Padang in Indonesia. So when he goes on these expeditions, we do prepare collectively. We prepare his consciousness as well as conducting that in a group situation. So when he does these expeditions, he doesn't really go alone because he takes the whole group with him. And when he returns, he brings back his revelations, his findings, his insights, and he shares them with the group. And he also brings back a vial of water for us, or for me in particular. And then we can energize our own water with the sacred waters from these various beautiful sites that he's been to. I'm going to share with you now the reverse process, and that is about making places sacred. And specifically, we're working with cities, like the city of Toronto, which is our example. And we're going to use the same methodology that Daniel has just outlined. We are going to prepare our consciousness by doing research into the history. This is our city, its founders. We also research the local arts and culture, historical sites. We look at the geography and the sort of natural environment. And we also look at what spiritual institutions are available. So this helps us prepare our etheric bodies for this entrance into this area that we're going to be doing our expedition. Now, you saw Daniel in his expedition to Mongolia in his Jeep. We use a more practical mode of transportation. We drive our car or we get on the subway, but we still enter into the area that we're going to. We meet ahead of time. We connect with the spiritual teachers and guides of our city. We go to various sites, we meet the locals, and we make a point of connecting with the physical space and with the source throughout the day. We close off each day with sort of a group closing. And at the end of our expedition, we meet, we review all the highlights. Everyone shares what was the highlight of their expedition. We look at any changes in consciousness that have occurred. We kind of harvest the results of the expedition and we send those to the source. So that's roughly the structure of our expedition. Now, just to give you a little bit of what DK has to say about cities and why cities are important, he tells us that they're living, vital focal points of dynamic force. And we've seen with the earlier presentation on the 5 planetary centers that they're each an exoteric expression of an esoteric center of force through which the hierarchy and Shambhala are seeking to work. And so each city, major city in a country like Canada, is also a chakra or a center. So he suggests researching into these various national centers and their esoteric ruling energies, revealing in a more universal manner and with a wider horizon the destiny of humanity in relation to its group units, large and small. And by this he means cities. So for Toronto, we've done our homework. We have looked at the astrology of Toronto. We've hypothesized its ray structure, and we've also hypothesized that it is both the throat center for the country because of its business and communication centers, and the head center for the province of Ontario because the legislature is located here in Toronto. And again, under the theory, we're looking to connect the father, the spirit principle, or the spiritual task of a city with the matter aspect, the mother, as expressed by its physical space, its geology, its geography, and its natural environment. So we're bringing this spirit into matter, and we're grounding this antakarana, as we heard from Francis earlier in the day. Here is our expedition process. Here is what we design as, or what we designate as the 6 boroughs of Toronto: Etobicoke, York, North York, Scarborough, East York, and Toronto. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the history, the original name for Toronto was York, the town of York. So we're moving in a spiral cyclic fashion. We began in the west with Etobicoke. Last year we did York, and this year we'll be going to North York. So here's our first expedition. As I mentioned, it was to Etobicoke. We consider this experimental spiritual work. Everyone who participates is just taking it, under my guidance, but taking that this is actually helpful. We provide a 3-day focus, and we also do a water blessing. And as I mentioned, we do a pre and post analysis of what we consider the level of consciousness using the map of consciousness as our guide. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. And here's our expedition from last year to York. And we went to several different sites in York. And again, we did the same work that we did in Etobicoke. So in our research and planning, we're looking at the history of the region. We're not looking at the whole city, but just the region that we're going to. For this particular region, it had some former towns of Lambton Mills and Weston. We look at the maps. We plan an itinerary for every day. We assign responsibilities. There's logistics of timing and meeting and transportation. We drive ahead of time, usually to find some of the locations and establish our routes. And we also seek local knowledge from people who actually live in the area. Here's our expedition team. Here we are meeting at a site where Etienne Brule, who was the first European to set foot in what is now Toronto and also to see Lake Ontario. He had traveled from Quebec to Montreal, up the Ottawa River, across Portage to the French River, into Georgian Bay, come down the whole length of Georgian Bay to the south end. Again, came down another river, did a portage into Lake Simcoe, and finally a final portage down what's called the Carrying Place Trail into Humber Bay and comes out at Lake Ontario. So we're standing at that particular point where they hypothesized that he first saw Lake Ontario. Here's our first day, which was our orientation day. In this particular case, we did a bike ride up the Humber River. We visited a number of historic sites, and we had a dinner here at this traditional old mill, which is located right on to the Humber River. Our first day, we did a walking tour, and we went to a number of cultural institutions. We met various people who are artists or working in these art institutions, and we did this beautiful walking tour with all of the murals. We also visited the Civic Center, which is the head center for this particular community. We have a picture of the first mayor here and his medallion, or what you call that, his chain of office. And then we did a historical tour. We visited a park where we had not an epitaph, a cenotaph, sorry, cenotaph, a very historic library that's called a Carnegie Library, built in the early 1900s. Through local knowledge, we learned about the um, local Masonic temple, and we paid a visit there. And this open square, which is more of a modern square, but is a collection where people have a farmer's market every Saturday. And our final day we called Spiritual Day, where we visited a number of spiritual institutions, including a mosque, which is on the right there, several churches. We attended a church service and burial grounds for some of the people who lived or founded the community. So at the end of all this, we asked ourselves the question, have we succeeded in one of our goals? Our goal was to connect this onto Corona, but also to raise the vibratory rate of our city, and particularly this part of our city. So this is a subjective process, but we basically dowsed using the map of consciousness as a guide. And we looked, first of all, in the first year, which was 2024, you can see Etobicoke, based on the map of consciousness, which is on the left, where you can see 200 represents courage and affirmation and feasible. So anything above 200 is good under this David Hawkins map of consciousness. So you can see that over time, we were successful um, in boosting the vibratory rate or the state of consciousness in this area of Etobicoke. It didn't stay. It came back by 2026. It had fallen back quite a bit, but still, it is still well above where we started. And the same thing happened in York. The increase wasn't quite as dramatic, but it does seem to be sustaining. So that's how we measure, I guess, if you would call it the success of our work, although we try not to personalize it. So in summary, we can analyze a city very much the way we do an individual. It has a soul and a personality. And the soul of a city is a combination of the group soul of its people and the Davic lives of its land, natural environment, and topography. So we can connect with the guiding spiritual lives and help express the city's soul purpose. So this is really building the Antakarana. We can also honor the lives by visiting and connecting with some of the founders and some of the leaders of a community. And this will help to ultimately elevate the consciousness of the area and also ourselves. So that's our purpose when we undertake one of these expeditions. Now, on an expedition, we have a plan, but there's always something serendipity that happens to us. Well, so for us, it was finding this mural. And I'll just read the text of this particular mural. We've virtually stumbled on this mural. It was not part of our mural tour. Into the light and out of the dark and back to you. As we breathe in, as we breathe in, things look unclear. As we breathe out, things disappear. Ignorance blooming into wisdom. We can no longer sleep nor pretend to be asleep. Wake up, sleeping spirit. It's time for a new world. Life erupts from the flames as the first breath takes flight towards rebirth. Big firebird, mother and child, open hands, blue river, create, build, grow, explore, invest, evolve. Set free yourself. A world of hope awaits as we are reborn to create a new era. Liberating our thoughts. This is transformation. But we can tell you this as if it wasn't our imagination. Let go, surrender to your truth. It's about time you shine. So that was at the side of this building and this image of the phoenix. So thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank some of the teachers who've helped us from Tetrada in particular, Olga Pashanina and Olga Kutuzova. They provided the insights into this consciousness of cities and helping Daniel in particular to prepare for an expedition. And I'd like to also thank our entire expedition team for their participation. And we'd like to honor you for being here and listening to our presentation today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to ask Alexander, if he's here, to just provide a little bit of insights. We know you just did a trip to, sorry, let me just get rid of this, to the pyramids. So maybe you can share with us some of your insights. Maybe you can unmute Alexander, if that'd be great.
Thank you, Freda, and thank you, Daniel. It's a very interesting scientific approach to the sacredness of expeditions and pilgrimage. Many of us had such experience of visiting special places and might not necessarily be somewhere far across the ocean. Some can be in our own city, as what Frida shared. It's very inspiring to recognize the way how to connect with the magic of own place. But just to respond to Frida's invitation to share about experience of our recent trip, a group trip to Egypt. It's very difficult to put it in a few words. Probably some of you followed us because there were only 8 people who physically traveled with on the ground, but there was a group, a larger group, who followed us on WhatsApp, and that was quite a unique experience for us as we journeyed as a small group and recognized the presence of the larger group as this larger group were tuned with us with the rhythm of our journey and with the rhythm of our attunements with that ancient presence, which we recognize as ancient Egypt. Probably the most resonant recognition that came for me and for our group was that being as a group on a spiritual journey provides quite a special opportunity to move through sacred sites as with a group consciousness, which in a way becomes a lens, like a magnifying glass lens, that allows us to attune with those mysteries that are hidden or veiled behind the outer appearance of sacred sites. And probably one of the keys for restoring the ancient mysteries lies along that line of group consciousness that can decode the keys provided in us in a visual form or in recognizable form, and relating those, not just recognizing them, but relating them to our reality now, recognizing how those mysteries can help and support us in our service today. So that's my small contribution.
Yes,
And
thank you. That's
thank you,
very
Frida.
relevant. Thank you. Well, I wanted to say that, yes, it's quite a different experience from being a tourist. So I had this experience myself where I did the opposite. I was in San Marco Cathedral in Venice, and I had all the tourist information, including the Rick Steves audio guide, and I was walking through and I thought, oh my God, I'm doing what we shouldn't do. I'm in this building, this sacred site, and supposedly has the bones of Saint Mark in the cathedral, and I'm doing it like a tourist, looking at all the this, that, and the other thing, and listening to the audio guide. So my husband actually had more, is more astute than I was. And over to one side, there was like a small church area, and we could go in and sit down, and there was an actual church service going on. It was in Italian, so we couldn't understand it. But the point was, I was stopped being a tourist and became a conscious person who was entering into a sacred, temple or cathedral, and connected with the inner consciousness of the space instead of being the gawking person. Unfortunately, tourists can dissipate that sacred energy. So that's why there needs to be that strong connection with the founders, with the purpose, and with the sacredness of a particular site. And so that's what we can do when we go to these places.